You know, I often, during streams and a whole bunch of other things, get asked, what is my favorite car of all time, or what is my favorite brand? And I get it asked a lot, so I thought, you know what? I'm going to take today to make a tier list upon what I think are the best cars, because I thought, you know what, I want a bunch of angry comments. So that brings me to Tier Maker. And we're going to start off with the one company which I have the most amount of experience with and grew up with and loved all the way through, except for modern times. But it doesn't matter. It's Volvo. 100%. Why Volvo? Well, part of the reason is because they made the glorious B20 series of engines, the most robust engines, and I believe still for the longest time, one of the cars that has one of those engines is the longest running car Guinness Book of Record thing. You get the idea. Super robust engine, and I just love their cars. All right, fine, we'll move that down to like. But now we're gonna go in order. Renault, it's French, so, I mean, there's a few cars I like. It's between ew and meh, though I don't like these names. There, fixed. Subaru, on the other hand, well, here's a tricky one. Subaru did pretty cool with racing back in the 90s and 2000s, but their cars are very uninspired, and here's one of the big reasons why I'm going to put it in meh. One, they are not reliable. Now, there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, you just have to know how to maintain them. Well, you don't have to do that with a lot of other cars. Here's the other thing. I have the Toyota 86. What's the only bad thing about that car? Apart from the differential axles, which I believe is also Subaru, the engine, which is Subaru, which is garbage. So as a result of them ruining my car that I've been looking forward to getting for the longest time, totally in a meh. Then there's Kia. Kia has made a few good cars. I don't know much about them, but they do have a really cool Stinger. So I'm kind of like, I'm torn. They have some weird things though. I was thinking of one particular car that I thought that they made, but it turns out it's the Hyundai Veloster that I'm thinking of. This thing is weird because it's actually asymmetrical. It has a hatchback, which would mean that usually it has 3 or 5 doors, but it has 4 doors. Like 2 on one side and 1 on the other. It is so weird and wacky. And because I kinda like the car, we're gonna find Hyundai and we're gonna put it on the same level. Mini? Nah, I mean, they're not French, but they're pretty darn bad. They are so unreliable. Their driving, actually, you know what? Their driving is okay, but they're just not good cars in the limited experience I have had with them. Land Rover, on the other hand, I don't know much about them. I don't like 4-wheel drive cars, but their cars are kinda cool. Like, I'm not a big fan of the old style sorts of cars, but these sorts of things, and this, I don't know, it's aesthetically pleasing. Would I own one? Probably not, especially with how incredibly unreliable British vehicles are. Though give me a Jaguar with the exact same engine and more electrical problems, hell yeah, I'd own something like a V8 supercharged one. That does feel very unfair, but I'm gonna put that in like. You know what, actually Volvo's going up to like, but not as high as Jaguar. I like Jaguar a lot. Corvette, on the other hand, previously I probably would have put them on meh. Like, they're a sports car, cross muscle car sort of thing. They're very American, very fast, and do not handle apparently like muscle cars. But now that they got that mid-engine sort of thing to take on Ferrari with like an affordable car, hell yeah, that's going definitely into a like, if like, not a love. It's going top of like. Then there's Acura. I mean, I'm gonna do Honda, so we may as well just put that there for now. Tesla. I hate their business, and I don't like how most of them look, but their cars are cool. But they're just, oh, it's such a bad company. We're gonna put it at the bottom of meh. Then we got Audi. I mean, Audi is not really a big company in Australia, or at least hasn't been up until kind of recently, with Volkswagen really taking over New South Wales, Sydney sort of area. Otherwise, it's just, you could probably count the amount of Audis I've seen this year on 2 hands, maybe 1 hand. Unfortunately, Volkswagen doesn't have any cool cars. Bentley, I almost said Bugatti. Bentley, I mean, they're kind of cool. They're also Volkswagen Audi group, I believe. I'm really too sure on that one. But yeah, it's super expensive. I'm gonna put it in meh. It's way too expensive. Then there's Bugatti. I mean, Bugatti is pretty darn cool. They're, hold on, let me show you. Now, the Veyron hasn't really aged very well. It's very much an acquired taste now. Still cool car, but what started off as a really cool design in the 90s, by the time it came out, it was already like oh, okay. I mean, it's very cool and fast, but now you look back at it's just, But something like the EB110, and their old race cars and everything from way back in the day, oh, so cool. There's a reason why I have this. So that's why Bugatti is in love. Then we have Cadillac. Can I add another one of these tiers on? And we'll call this one I don't know. So I'm not saying that anything that goes in the I don't know section is bad. It's that they never came to Australia. So I have no idea who they are, really. Like, I know that the LMDH car is pretty darn cool, and the fact that it's winning so much with such a rudimentary engine compared to so many others, they're gonna go there. PT Cruiser. Chrysler. Sorry, I meant to say. Oh, here's one for the ages. The PT Cruiser is pretty much the only Chrysler we've had in Australia for the last 20 years. Now, Chrysler also did manufacture in Australia way back in the day. They were called Valiant, and they did some cool cars, but I don't really know anything about them. So I'm gonna put them in the I don't know. You know what, actually, no, they do have the LMDH. I'm gonna put it in the like category. Aside from the fact that I really don't know much about them. Then there's McLaren. I'm going to put them in the ew section, probably. Like, their cars are fast, sure, but I don't think, apart from the F1, which is fairly mild looking in terms of supercars or hypercars, if they've ever made a good looking car, like the Seta at least didn't look bad. It just looked interesting. So that would be probably the only one I would consider. Everything else there, ugly as sin. Let's move on to Ferrari. They did make some cool cars back in the day, but now they're flashy and, to be honest, compared to their competitors, quite slow. So I'm going to put them in the meh category. And their company is also very litigious, and I'm very much against companies, to be honest, especially ones like that. So that goes in the meh category. Fiat, I don't know. Ford. You know, I really do like Ford, especially Ford Australia. They've done some really cool stuff. Their Mustangs are starting to come in now, and I just really love them. I would love to own one if I could afford one. So do I put it in love? No. But I really do put it in like because of the Barra and their Boss engines that they made here and their Ford Falcons. It's just cool. I personally currently own an XR6 Ute at the moment, and the best handling car I've ever been in, and I've been in, an old Aston Martin, but like it was just so good at anything like mid or low speed. The Toyota 86 is garbage in comparison to that car. Anyway, moving on to Holden. I bet you everybody's like, oh, he's Australian, he's gonna like it, but I was a Ford fan. Ford Australia was more Australian than Holden because Ford actually made cars or designed cars for basically only Australia, whereas Holden almost always just took from other countries, generally European countries. Only when it came to like the late 2000s did they actually start to make their own cars here. So as a result, I'm going to put them kind of in meh, but I totally would own one as a manual V8 from like the time in which they made it in Australia, but it's going in meh. Then we move on to Honda. I actually really like Honda. Their company structure is based upon meritocracy. And if you don't know what a meritocracy is, that means that people don't get promoted because of who their family is. Otherwise, the son of the creators of the companies would have been in charge, but they actually gave it to who they thought would run the company best. And their motto is to really make super reliable, good cars. And they've also made some cool cars like the NSX and the sexy S2000. Oh, I love it. Next up is Hummer. I know enough about them to hate them. I've seen them on the road here in Australia, and they are just a hindrance to everybody else. So that is like, I hate it. It's not an I don't know. I know enough to hate them. Lexus, boring. You know what? Actually, we're going to change this from ew to boring. because I feel that just fits better. I'm just not interested in any of these cars. Moving on, Aston Martin, super unreliable. But I'm gonna have to be on Jeremy Clarkson and whatnot's side saying that they're gorgeous. Gorgeous cars. And as a point of that, it's going in love. Like, they have had some mingers. Trust me, I get that. But they're so pretty. And their engines are pretty cool. Even if they are just basically two Ford V6s to make a V12 sometimes, that doesn't matter. They're just cool. Moving on, Nissan. They have the Skyline, the GTR, the 370s. They have the old Datsun 240Zs. I like it. I even owned a Nissan Silady, which was basically just a 180 with a Silvia front on it. So I'm gonna put that in the like section. But would I own one? Maybe. Their company has really gone downhill in the like mid 2000s, but I feel as if they've tried to repair their reputation recently. Chevrolet, I don't really know anything about them apart from the fact that they're GM and yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Alfa Romeo. They have made some gorgeous cars. They have made some minger cars, and they have made some pretty mid cars. They're fairly unreliable by what I have seen personally. Most of them selling used on any sort of online used marketplace here in Australia have a list of things that they've recently repaired or have a list of things that they need to still repair. So as a result, I'm gonna kind of put that like top of mid. It does go ahead with a Holden. I think they're kind of cool, but they do have a lot of boring front-wheel drive cars, so we're gonna move that down a bit. Then Infiniti, I mean, they're just Nissan, right? So I don't really know anything about them. Moving on, Lancia. They've had two cool cars. So I'm gonna put them up into the like section. They have the Stratos. I think that the 037 is one of the ugliest cars ever made, and fight me in the comments, I don't care. It's just, honestly, have you looked at the 037? It is not a particularly good-looking car. Now, the Beta I kind of like, but it doesn't really scream supercar, which is kind of what it was meant to be like back in the day. But then there's, yes, here we go. This one. This is kind of like the only other one that I really particularly like. I forgot that they started making these. Moving on, Jeep. Don't really know anything about them. I mean, their cars are kind of cool sometimes, but not really. Lamborghini. Same sort of thing as Ferrari. They're kind of cool. I think is it controversial to say that Lamborghini is cooler than Ferrari? And like a lot cooler than Ferrari? Like a heap more cool than Ferrari? Yeah, I think they are. Moving on, Dodge. Don't really know anything about them. They have the Charger, which is like a ugly sedan, but still cool, but I don't really know anything about them. Lotus, I like them. Like, unreliable, British, hot garbage. What is it Jeremy Clarkson said? I think it was something along the lines of, lots of trouble, usually serious, which is funny. But I like really rough handling sports cars that are just really, really nitty gritty sort of handling sorts of things. Which is part of the reason why I was okay with buying the 86, even though I heard that they had low power. Maserati. Don't like them. I don't think I've ever seen a Maserati car that looks good. Like, a lot of people say that they look good, but I don't think I've ever looked at a Maserati and said, that's a good looking car. Moving on to Mazda. I think they make some cool cars. They had the rotary. Now they're gonna make a rotary hybrid, but a lot of their cars are just boring. Like really boring. I'm gonna move it here. I'm gonna rearrange this, maybe like this. There we go. That's a better boring line. Moving on, Mercedes. I don't like it. Mitsubishi. I love the Evo. I grew up around people having Evos in like rally car format sort of thing. They were so cool. But now they're not really a company anymore. They're a rebadging firm. So mid, which is really disappointing. BMW. Terribly unreliable cars, very anti-consumer behavior, but I really want a 135i. So I'm torn. I like them, but I shouldn't. They're a terrible, disgusting, putrid company. Pagani. Like, they had the Zonda, which was wild looking, but nothing about a Pagani has ever made me, like, really, really want one. Peugeot, French. I mean, what more can I say? Porsche. They're kind of mid. Like, apparently they make some of the best handling cars, but they're so expensive. Once again, Volkswagen Audi group, terrible business practices. Moving on, we got Rolls-Royce, could care less. Like, I don't care about Rolls-Royce. Moving on to, wait, there's two Lexuses here. What the hell? Seat. I don't really know anything about them. They were in Gran Turismo and they had one cool car. Wait, what was it? Seat unfortunately didn't come to Australia, so I don't know much about them. Is this only recent cars? Oh, that looks kind of cool. Though it looks like a Fiat. Weird. Okay, I've not seen this. It looks so weird, but also for some reason, I love it and I want it. And oh yeah, here's the other point. Their SEO sucks because their name is literally Seat. So they're kind of going in like the, I don't know section. Nah, they had some, I don't know. Toyota. I mean, they're very boring, but very reliable cars. Unfortunately, they've tried to do some sports cars recently, and they both times put it out to other companies that are not known for their reliability, which is like terrible decision making. I can't say that I like them. The old Toyota Supra, like all of the old Toyota Supras, they're cool. But that's it. The rest of the company, it's pretty mid. Now, there is seemingly a lot of missing cars from this list, but oh well. That's what we've got. That's the list that somebody else made. Thank you very much for making that. But that's basically my list for today. I've upset a lot of people, and I already know it. Especially with that McLaren one. I know that there's so many McLaren sims out there. Like, who's that one? Tavarish. He loves McLaren, which I don't understand. It has to be a North American thing, because the rest of the world must look at these cars and go like, it looks like a fish. But you know who goes up in the love section? My channel members. And that specifically includes the Rogue Tick, the Crown Priest, Gav the Stig, and now joining us, NovaFire98. For the rest of you though, I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.